invitation to staff for their very hard work. So I'd like to invite down Beck to speak to this and introduce this.
Good morning, everyone. Can I extend the invitation to the staff involved to receive the awards, and that's Donna Russ from Capella and Cassie Collier from Springshore Police. So notification came through late last year that all three communities that placed applications for the Tidy Town submissions received awards, and there are also a couple of community groups and a business that picked up an award in that as well. We haven't heard yet about our star rating, so that information is still coming through as to whether we were successful in a star rating of 3 to 5, I imagine, for all of these areas. So we'd like to acknowledge the hard work of the staff who gathered all the information and hosted the judges as they came through and took them around, visited sites within the township, met with community groups. Thank you very much. It's all worked out in the end, which is great. It's a very arduous task, completing the submission. There's a lot that goes into them. Having the judges attend was no different. There was still a large logistical component to the submissions of making sure people were available. So we're just going to present these awards this morning. So we'll start off. Emerald was awarded the Energy Efficiency or Innovation Award. I prepared the submissions for Emerald on my own. Congratulations.
The background of this is
The solar
project for this building.
Yes, yeah. So an enormous contribution, enormous project for council, and obviously something that we're very proud of in terms of cost savings and promoting energy efficiency in the region. So that's great.
So, Joram, would you like individual photos or a group photo?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Well done, Beck.
Now, okay.
Mayor Hayes, did you want to be involved?
Definitely.
He's tuned right.
Oh, right, we've just been making sure
Well, you roll it.
Okay. Very well.
So Beck, where's that meeting?
I think down in reception for all to see, along with our star ratings. The exception will be the award for the Doing It for Dolly, which we've arranged to be hung in the library. So there's a bit of, you can see it basically. Okay, the next award is for Destination for Live, Work and Play, and that's awarded to Springshore.
Yes! It was a very good pitch.
They loved him.
They did.
Absolutely loved him.
I asked them what was the name of things about each of the regions, and they said Darryl Blake was for Springfield.
Yeah, keeping nice.
I've just got your boxes out.
All right, moving along. Heritage and Culture Award. So there's a highly commended to Capella. So thank you, Donna. There was a beautiful drone video of their visit to Springshore that was
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, they walked in there and they saw you,
Okay, the Bush Spirit Award. Did you want to present this to the council?
So the Bush Spirit Award going to the Doing It for Dolly Springshore event. We've got in the absence of Councillor Nixon, Councillor Godwin-Smith, would you like to
I'd be happy to.
come up and accept this award on behalf of the
Thanks.
We won't hold the photo until the end.
And the last award was the Waste Warrior Award. So I took the judges along to Edison's Burger Bar in Emerald. They use disposable cutlery. They've got obviously the display of all reused and recycled material there. So I thought, what better place to take them for lunch. So in that spirit, they awarded that business the Waste Warrior Award.
That's great, and I'll make sure that I catch up with my staff to present this to them. So it's a great initiative of theirs. So
Very good.
There you go. And we'll get back to the meeting.
I was sorry, Susie,
Yeah.
Hey, Susie.
How do we get the?
Yeah.
You just keep hold.
Just make sure I wasn't right. Thanks very much.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone, and a special thank you to Beck for coordinating all those awards as well. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the body of the committee meeting, into the 10.1 Full Masters 2019 Central Highlands Award. Awards of my brain, Central Highlands Tour.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I'll invite Jared Bryant, our Community Manager for Community Reconciliations down. Councillors, this report indicates an opportunity for our councillors who are approached by the Queensland Cricket Balls Masters Group, who do regular tours to regional areas to connect with the clubs, in particular around cricket, play games and just do some other community work. So you see here, in particular, this report refers to an opportunity in April of this year for that group to visit our region. We'll also note the recommendation from the staff is not to proceed. I will up front indicate there may be an opportunity to go back and renegotiate times based on workloads and based on other events based around that time. It's going to be quite a challenging task for our staff to be able to accommodate this appropriately. So I'll let Jared detail the report for you.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everyone. I think Daniel's covered it pretty comprehensively there in terms of what it's all about. My recommendation is not to support the item due to a lack of details as far as what's going to be involved, and also on the basis that we don't have an existing budget item to support it. So the details are provided in the report in relation to what some of those activities might be. Some of the detail we don't have is in terms of what players may be involved that are former Queensland cricketers or Australian cricketers. So as a consequence, we're not really sure of what the promotional value will be to the area, what the pulling power will be. There's no doubt it would likely be a beneficial event for the community, but it's not something that we have planned currently. And from my perspective, I'd like to see more detail there to be able to support it prior to us considering going ahead with it. So on that basis, that's why I put the recommendation forward, but more than happy to receive comment back.
Councillors, any comments regarding the report?
Through the chair, I was just going to add that in some of those early discussions, we did contact the local cricket communities, and they also expressed, I guess, some concern about being able to arrange things in that period of time, and also just the, the opportunity of incorporating more sort of, I guess you'd say, coaching and participation into that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that couldn't be two different things anyhow, but that would certainly, without their support, it'd be pretty hard to get that running. And obviously the time suggested just this year, I think, runs into a difficult time. So it'd be really good to negotiate an opportunity to, at another time to bring them back, because I think we could promote it pretty well.
No, I agree. I think if we could ask for them to consider us for future years and give us more notice, so that we could both have a budget item there and have the time to organise it with our communities too. Right, if,
I was going to say, I see great value in this type of event coming to the region, and I understand the time frame doesn't seem to work. We don't have a budget, but I would like to think we could actually keep engaged with the Queensland Bulls, and particularly where the benefit is those kids in, smaller regions benefit, or that even if they had to come to Emerald, they would attend in spades a coaching clinic or an opportunity to be, alongside, some of our former cricketing greats on the crease. So, and I do think if we've got a bit of time, there might be an opportunity to sort of get some sponsorship. So, like, it's 20 grand, I understand that, but there's no reason why we couldn't hit up Sojits or, anybody that had an interest in just to help out with that. But because I do think it would be a great thing for our region to have those high level players come in and get engaged with, especially our kids. And I think there's a big following for some of those masters in particularly our generation. So I think the event would actually be a great one to host in the region at some point, maybe in the next 12 months, next budget.
So there's a resolution there in front of us to not accept this opportunity, but however we add to that we would ask that they would consider us again for a future year and provide us with time frame around planning as well.
Through the chair, I feel that this definitely needs to be supported and investigated in a great deal more depth. I'd like to see the local cricket association be driving this with us.
Okay.
And that maybe the mother or the SSO, the state organisation, could deal directly with our local representative, our Central Highlands Cricket, and so that we can be more community engaged in this process. I'm certainly for looking at getting this sort of event to our local communities. I think it's imperative that these groups on an annual or every second year are a part of our community. I think it's really important with where we're going, and so I'm in support of it. It's just that time frames this year is just a little bit difficult for us. It is also the last week of school holidays.
Yeah, I agree. I think.
So it's just a timing issue, I think, and I think if we could have the drivers from a local level working with the state body or the Bulls Masters body and promote it a different way.
The resolution has been updated and been in front of you. So the Central Highlands Regional Council received a report and not received the opportunity to host the Bulls Masters event 2019, but we consider this option in the future.
I'd just say this financial year.
It's fine.
Because
That's right. It's financial year. I will request for them to reconsider this opportunity for future years.
No, I just think it's. In the future.
Yeah, I just take
Yeah,
it sounds like I don't want to put it off forever.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
we'll request,
They're
yeah.
pretty red hot. They've already done a fair bit of preliminary planning. I honestly think
I think it's a
delivered
next year.
in the next 12 months. While they're hot and they're keen, and I think this is a wonderful opportunity for the kids. And I know when the Reds the Reds come out, the kids just love it, and it's so important for them to have access to these opportunities and the other things that they build in around their visit as well. Certainly, it's a really good thing to deliver for our community.
Consider reconsidering plan if possible. In the next month, in the next 12 months. Okay. Okay, the resolution's in front of us. Can I please have a mover for that?
Just not reading like this,
Okay.
through the chair, next 12 months and partner. Option B, plan in the next 12 months and partner. Who's partnering? The balls, oh, sorry.
And council partner with.
Well, the partner, including it, just, I'm not sure who's partnering. It just says we're both, are we partnering or are they partnering?
Can we say and local sporting organisations contribute to the coordination? Or will it just be?
I would put a full, if you really want to put it in, I would put a full stop after, in the next 12 months, I'll have another dot point, CHRC,
And further.
and further, but I'll take the end out because, further, CHRC, partner with local sporting organisations to coordinate this event. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think we don't rule out the opportunity to maybe knock on the door of some of the bigger players in the region to maybe get behind it. I think that'd be something they might jump at as well.
Okay, great. Okay, the resolution's there in front of us. Can I please have a mover for that resolution? Councillor Brindlecombe and then Councillor Goldman-Smith, second that resolution. A show of hands, please. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Moving on to page 15 of our agenda. Thank you, Jared, for that report. I'll hand over to Daniel to introduce Karen for the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee Planning Meeting update. And Suzanne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Suzanne and Karen. We'll come in and provide the detail for you, but again, we've had a chat meeting and the minutes of that meeting are presented for your endorsement here, noting 7 specific actions. Suzanne and Karen, who would like to kick it off?
Thanks, Daniel. Through the chair, I think I'll just pass to Karen to give more details on this report. Thank you, Karen.
The council, the Central Highlands Advisory Committee planning meeting notes. Thank you, Daniel. Through the chair. This report presents the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee planning meeting notes from the 22nd of November 2018, which was held in Rolleston. The decision report is brought to council to request that the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee meeting notes be received. Any questions?
No. Okay. Any questions, councillors? Okay, can I please have a move for this report? Thank you, Councillor Syphon, seconder, Councillor Goldman-Smith. Thank you very much for that report. So the resolution is being in front of us. Can I show of hands, please, for all in favour? Thank you very much.
Just on the side note, the retreat, the artist retreat, how's that progressing?
That is progressing. Julie, I've been in discussion with Julie Barrett, and the original project plan that I put through it has been sent back to me, so we'll take that forward now. They haven't clarified the budget bit yet, how that's going to be managed, so still investigating.
And the dates are still looking to be around just before Easter? Or
that's the dates that we would like. I possibly would like the dates shifted from that time frame.
Yep.
But I do want it within this financial year. We've just got to investigate the increased costs around the accommodation with the change in time. So
In addition to that, we just need to be sure that the additional workload is going to be viable with the current operating plan, that we don't jeopardise our existing works for additional projects.
It does worry me.
That is something we're very aware of, and we'll be working with community groups to make sure that whatever we do is going to be something that is achievable.
Thank you. Appreciate that update.
Great, thank you. We'll jump ahead to agenda item 10.4, since we have Karen and Suzanne already seated. So everyone could please move ahead in their agendas to do 10.4, thank you, and we'll go back to the youth report after that. So I'll hand over to Daniel to introduce the RADF round 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Daniels, through to you. Nothing too outrageous for me to report here. I'll probably throw straight to Suzanne and Karen for detail. You'll be aware that the RADF process has slightly changed from previous years, so if we could just touch on how there have been any changes and how that's impacting our region.
Thanks, Daniel. I'll pass straight to Karen to give the details. Thank you, Karen.
Through the chair, the RADF report for the 2018-19 round 2 recommendations, the Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee met on the 13th of December 2018 to review the applications for round 2 of the Regional Arts Development Fund for the 2018-19 financial year. The report puts forward that the Central Highlands Regional Council for the council to endorse the CHACAC's recommendation to decline the 2 community applications to the value of $9,500 and to approve the 2 CHACAC proposed council initiated projects to the value of $30,000. The list of those applications and recommendations are on the report. The total of the council RADF grants for round 2 financial year 2018-19 is $30,000. This decision report is brought to council to request endorsement of the recommendations made by the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee. Are there any questions on that particular section?
No questions?
Karen, did you just want to give just a brief overview of the 2 that are successful and what they might involve?
So, council initiated projects are sitting in the strategy and the documents that have been previously presented to council, and it was actually highlighted and requested in this financial year's budget to do a heritage needs assessment for the region based on a lot of the community feedback. We were given a quote by Queensland Museum Officer to evaluate all the heritage groups throughout the region and do an assessment on the current status of the collections within those groups. So we consider that a high needs area to manage those fragile pieces of heritage items, and the advisory committee approved $20,000 towards that commitment. As another strategic initiative, we have a reduced budget in the Arts in August program for this financial year, so the committee approved to support an extension of that budget to deliver programming to our communities throughout the region.
You're actually paying yourselves.
We are, and we can do council strategic initiative projects as long as, like, they're strategically for the whole region and the whole community. And that's always been a feature of the RADF program. There's always been the possibility of strategic initiatives.
It's not actually happening. It's not actually happening.
No.
The committee, the decision process, Karen, did you want to go through the decision process for?
Yeah, so the decision process, applications come forward and they go in, and there's a lot of deliberation around each application as it comes through. So, and there's a set of guidelines against all the applications. There is possibly been a reduced suitability of applications that have come through to be assessed. and they don't actually meet the guidelines, so they're declined due to that reason.
And the assessment is done by all members that are present on that day, but you've obviously their minutes. So it's an independent assessment selection.
Through the chair, if I could just add to that, so we've got the assessment criteria, and it's very important for our governance that we that we apply those criteria to things. So projects that are made by our community that don't fit that criteria, those applications are then given feedback so that they can consider that feedback to improve their application and then resubmit in the next round. So there's certainly no intention for them to be excluded. We give them advice to help improve their application to be reconsidered in future rounds, and that's what will be done here. So we would expect that the applicants that that weren't awarded this time would improve their applications and have a good chance at being successful in the next round.
Karen, is there anything more that we can do to promote the grant opportunities so we can see an increase in either quality of application or security of application or number of applications?
We're trying to do some more positive programming around that, and the committee themselves are travelling across the region to try and promote the program as well. There's a lot of groups that do come forward and present proposals, and there's a lot of individuals and groups that I worked with that don't actually put an application in, so there's that time frame too. So the training around individuals and groups around the region is ongoing, and we're reinstating the outreach program, which should help with that encouragement of getting groups to apply to the rate of rounds.
Okay. Okay, councillors, the recommendations there in front of us to decline 2 projects and approve 2 projects as listed below. Is there any further questions regarding that? Otherwise, Marcus, will you move it? Thank you. Councillor Grimble came and a seconder, Councillor Robinson. Marcus, all in favour, thank you. Thank you very much, Suzanne and Karen. So we'll move back to 10.3, the Central Highlands Regional Council Youth Strategy Triennial Progress Report, and I'll invite down 2 people new to our organisation. So as part of the presentation, I believe Hayley and Susie will be introducing themselves and to talk about what they're doing. So I'll hand over now to them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an exciting report to bring before the committee. It will be our first new strategy progress report that the committee have seen based on the strategy that has been endorsed. So I won't go into the detail, and I know Suzanne and the team will want to get their fingers dirty into that one. So, but no, as I did mention, it is really exciting. You can see a lot of progress that has been made, despite some time that has been taken to get a full complement of staff on board. So we're certainly grateful we've picked up some new staff members. So I'll pass it over to Suzanne.
Thanks very much. Through the chair. So as Daniel said, this is an incredibly exciting day. So we're just absolutely overjoyed to be here with you and have our new staff with us. So we have here today with Susie sitting next to me and Hayley, and they'll obviously introduce themselves further as we go through our presentation. So we're here today to talk about the Youth Strategy and Action Plan, which outlines Council's commitment to young people and a way to progress youth development regionally. So the strategy that we have here has been endorsed in March last year, and it actually commenced in July in 2018. So this report will present a summary of the first 6 months of progress. So that's from July last year to December in last year, 2018. So what I'll do is I'll just pass you over to the staff. So Hayley, to be clear on everyone's role, Hayley's our Senior Youth Development Officer, and she'll be her primary location, her office will be here in Emerald. And Susie Bain, our Youth Development Officer in Springsure, and they'll provide you with some more information about the progress of the youth strategy and plans for the rest of the financial year. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Suzanne, through the chair. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. So who is the youth development team? We are new. I've been here, this is my 5th week, and Susie's been here, Susie's 3rd week. So we are very new. Myself, I've lived in Mount Isa for the past 15 years, just relocated here to Emerald. For the past 8 years, have worked in not-for-profit youth organisations, working with at-risk youth in Mount Isa. And if you've seen it in the media, we have a few at the moment, so it's all happening down there. Susie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Hayley, through the chair. I've recently returned back to the Central Highlands, born and bred here after being in New South Wales in the Northwest Plains for the past 3 years. My background really spans across community engagement, particularly in rural communities and youth. So I'm excited to be on board and get stuck into it. Great to have you back.
So we do have one member of our team. Missing today is Josh. Unfortunately, he can't be here today. He's acting in the area coordinator position, and he's super busy organising the Australia Day event that's coming up this weekend, so he couldn't be here. So we would also like to acknowledge that we will be reporting on all the great work that Josh has done. So through this report, we might say we, it's Josh. So due to obviously the challenges in recruitment, he's been flying solo for this time and has just managed to achieve some really awesome outcomes.
We will be getting the help.
Okay, so who are we? We are part of the communities department. We've recently grown from a 1-person team to 3. We are responsible for delivering the youth strategy. We support almost 20% of the total Central Highlands population, which equates to a total of 5,491 young people. Our team is responsible for ensuring that the vision, goals and objectives of the Central Highlands Youth Strategy are implemented to ensure young people are given opportunities to engage, informed and involved in council decision making within their communities. So on the slide, I just popped in my favourite. I'll just quickly skip past those horrible photos. There we are. There we are.
We might have to control it from here.
Oh, okay. Next slide, please. So we just pop this in. It's a great saying by Franklin D. Roosevelt. So we cannot always that prepares a young person to meet the challenges of adolescence and adulthood and achieve his or her full potential. Youth development is promoted through activities and experiences that help youth develop social, ethical, emotional, physical and cognitive competencies. Right. So when the strategy was done, there were 5 strategic priority areas that we used as a framework to deliver on the youth strategy outcomes and deliver through the action plans. So they were youth development, planning and advocacy, youth participation, youth connections, and place activation. So obviously this halfway mark through the year, we would be hoping to be sitting at 50%, but due to the challenges of recruitment and Josh, as I said before, flying solo, at all of these strategies, we haven't actually reached that 50% mark. So Josh has excelled in youth participation, engaging youth, and definitely through his youth big group. So he's hit the goals there, but he hasn't been able to reach sort of that strategic outcomes, which obviously is very time consuming. So now that Susie and I are on board, we'll help out with that and hit that 100% mark by the end of this financial year. So we will now report on the progress of each of the strategy priority areas. Susie?
Excellent, thank you, Hayley. So the first strategic priority area is youth development. So basically here we're looking to improve young people's access to services, opportunities, experiences that enhance their physical, emotional and social wellbeing and build on their personal capacity. At the graph at the top, you can see Josh has actually accomplished 30% out of the 50% single-handedly on his own. And some of those achievements so far include 11 projects delivered in line with the arts and cultural strategy, with a total of 213 young people in attendance. We've had 4 events delivered with Blackwater PCYC and a total of 208 young people in attendance. We've undertaken 11 different partnerships with stakeholders to deliver initiatives, and we've engaged with 35 people in YouthThink, which is a leadership group based in the Blackwater community. Still to come this financial year, we're looking at growing YouthThink into a second community, being that in Springsure. increased meetings with our sporting and recreational officers and cultural arts officer, and delivering activities in partnership with the Emerald PCYC. We'll also be maintaining our service level agreement with Queensland Department of Youth and Justice. So here we've got one of the advertisements that Josh has used for the Blackwater community. This was a bit of a roll-up Friday skate night. So children were encouraged to bring their own skates, or if they didn't have any, there's some provided for them to be able to access free of cost. The kids worked together to create this really theatrical circus atmosphere, and it really brought them together, a bit of bonding as well, in getting that space ready for other kids to enjoy. So it was a great activity. We had 70 kids in attendance, so that was really well attended.
Great, thank you, Susie. So our second strategic outcome is planning and advocacy. So this is research and advocate for improved services, facilities and opportunities that meet the needs of young people. So Josh accomplished 30% out of the 50%. So what has it been achieved so far was 2 Emerald interagency meetings, 2 Blackwater interagency meetings, 2 youth engagement hub meetings, the mental health week planning meetings attended and involved with. There was involvement in the Central Queensland Mental Health Stakeholders Group, as well as the Central Highlands Suicide Prevention Group. There was a meeting held with PCYC Emerald to discuss youth fitness, access and the trends with PCYC, and youth regularly being recognised on the youth Facebook page. So still to come is implement an annual Central Highlands Services provider survey and implement a regional youth recognition program. So we'll pop over. This is taken from Facebook. So this is in December, there was a local profile of Jax Ryan, who in December celebrated 5 years of involvement in the Youth Group program. So Jax has been involved in 150 youth events and planning them, with a combined participation of 30,000 young people. He is involved in over 200 planning meetings, advocated the needs of youth in front of the Blackwater community, and has attended council meetings. You probably recognise him from that. So he is the first active member of the group to reach 5 years. So that's really good. And with that on Facebook, it was sponsored over a 10-day period, and it gained 7,433 people reached it. 1,062 post engagements, 194 likes and 8 shares. So it's definitely reaching the community through that Youth Facebook page. It's very popular.
The next slide, please. Thank you. So our next strategic priority area is under youth participation. So we're hoping to encourage and facilitate youth participation in local events, programs and activities that support the growth and success of young people. So far we've accomplished 40% out of that 50%. So just some of the finer details for you. We've held 1 community reference group meeting in Capella. Youth Inc Blackwater has taken a trip of 6 students to Rockhampton for leadership. We've assisted and supported the Sister City program. We've worked with 66 students from across 3 high schools that were involved in Japanese and English conversation class, which is very interesting. There have been over 138 activities or events delivered over 13 communities with a total of 3,926 young people attending, so just short of 4,000, excellent. We've hosted 11 visitors as part of the Japanese Sister City program in the Central Highlands for 7 days from the 27th of July to the 3rd of August. And we've held NAIDOC events in Emerald and Blackwater. Still to come yet, in this next quarter, we've got to work with supporting community groups, clubs and agencies that provide avenues for youth to participate in arts and cultural based initiatives. Next slide, please. So here's another little bit of information for you about our skate parks. So skate parks continue week in, week out to be a thriving little hub for our youth, and they're heavily utilised every weekend, if not during the week as well. Some initiatives that we've held recently have been part of the Skate Mates program. In 2019, we'll be running Skate Mates in some outlying communities that we haven't previously, so that'll include Springsure and Capella, with our Skate Mates ambassador and the local resident, Aaron Lee, which would be really good. As part of that initiative, we held some skate days in Capella, which 60 used to attend. Bluff, we had 15, Dingo was 30, and Emerald had 20 on those particular days. So quite good attendance again.
So youth connections. Develop partnerships between young people, business and community that provide platforms to deliver on youth needs. We have accomplished 20% out of the 50% for this area. So achieved so far has been the development of a youth-based email distribution list that Josh has, and Susie and I will be obviously adding to once we get out into, well, we have already got out into the communities, but increasing that. Youth Inc Blackwater have been heavily involved in event planning and delivering those events. 4 young people graduated with a certificate in hospitality from the Get Set for Work program delivered by Blackwater PCYC. They also, out of those 4 people, have either re-engaged back in schooling or have actually got employment, so that was great outcomes. So still to come is the delivery of the annual Mayoral Student Leaders Summit, development of a marketing and communication guide to best inform youth on relevant matters, and maintain and update Council's youth development online information. Next slide, please. This is just a picture of the Youth Inc Blackwater end of year dinner breakup. So they had 106 people at that breakup dinner, which was the family members of around 35 Youth Inc members.
So our last priority action area is place activation. We want to create a vibrant community hub relevant to young people to be a place of social interaction, creativity, and obviously economic vitality. We've achieved 40% so far of the 50. So far we've held 11 events and they were delivered in public spaces. We've had 5 services that were engaged to deliver these events in public spaces, 80 school holiday initiatives were delivered across the council libraries. We've had 497 young people, which were participants in these initiatives, delivered in the council libraries. Still to come, we'll be promoting the existing local initiatives through the council's networks and communication methods, and will provide avenues for local groups, clubs and agencies to access funding or support the delivery of youth-friendly events, programs within our communities. So a couple of these activities were the Sunday fun days at the town pools. The community was so excited to attend this initiative, which can easily be reflected in the numbers that attended. So in Emerald, we had 359 people attend, and in Blackwater, we had 569. So that's amazing attendance for our communities. So this is a great activity for the whole family to enjoy. They had access to the water slides. Blackwater also had a floating, sort of like a jumping castle as well, which was super exciting for kids. And of course, all free, so that's an excellent activity.
So if we just do a bit of a breakdown, so the place activation at 40%, youth connections at 20%, youth participation at 40%, planning and advocacy at 30%, and youth development at 30%. We divide each of them by 5, we come up with a total that we're sitting at 32% out of 50% for this half of the financial year, which obviously, as we explained before, didn't have a 14. So now that we do have a 14, we'll be hitting that 100% by the middle of the year. So we just thought we'd pop in coming up, so just some activities that we're looking at, brainstorming around, obviously for youth. So we have Youth Homelessness Mothers Day, which is a sleep out, so you never know, there might be a challenge there to the councillors at the ELT to join us for that sleep out.
Be sure to give us those dates.
Yeah. We have obviously International Women's Day coming up, Right to School Day, Harmony Day, and Queensland Youth Week. So lots of exciting things coming for the youth development team. And that is us. If we'd like to open it up for any questions.
Thank you. Oh, that is awesome. And I'd just really like to acknowledge how wonderful it is to have you both in the roles. It is really exciting to see full complement in the youth space. And we've been really excited about the strategy for a long time. So, but also to acknowledge the work that Josh has done in getting that strategy to where it is, getting endorsed by council, and here we are. We've got full complement of people in the team, and you know, I'm sure you guys are going to bring great energy and enthusiasm. And to be at 32% now with one person on board is a really great place to be in. So well done, and looking forward to seeing more from you, and also supporting your events out and about in the region. So please let us know what's going on, and we look forward to coming along and supporting those things. I've always enjoyed attending the events, that Josh has had in Blackwater when we're able to. It's a great way to connect with the youth and get a feel for what their issues are. And yeah, Josh has always done a great job in that space. So I'm sure he's very excited to have you both on board as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, and also a thank you to Josh and thank you for that presentation. It was excellent. I know it's obviously the team put it together. And just a question about it is a big region and we've got 30 communities and communities. So how are you planning? Are you trying to plan to one event, at least one event into community for this year or for the next year? How will you spread yourself across the region?
Yes, so through the chair, thank you. It's worked out marvellously in the way that I'm situated in Emerald, so I'm going to do, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, but Gemfields, Capella and Thierry. Susie is Espenshaw, so she'll do Espenshaw, Ralston, Acadia Valley and Bohemia, and then Josh will do sort of the comment, Blackwater, Bluff, Dingo, Duringa. Yes, awesome. So it covers, well done. So it's going to work out really well that we've all got our areas.
Oh, that's great. So you'll be able to deliver something in each of the communities then.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Any further questions? May I please then, no further questions, but there's a resolution in front of us for us to receive that report from the Youth Strategy and Action Plan by Annual Report. Please have a mover. A very close second there. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that presentation.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I think is there a way that we can use acknowledgement that we can provide to Josh for his hard work?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Hopefully, maybe he's watching. If he is, we can.
Yeah,
That would be great. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. So now moving on to 10.5, thank you, which is the Community Recreation and Facilities Report. So I'll ask Daniel to introduce this and Jared to come to speak to this report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, councillors, again, this is our Manager of Community Rec Facilities Initiative to provide this quarterly update for you all. And it covers the scope of his entire remit of both operations and capital, so I won't take the thunder away from him.
Thank you, Daniel. The capital component is more covered in Daniel's report later on in this meeting, so we'll still have some thunder left at that time. As far as my report goes, it's covering the period from October through December, so there's quite a bit of detail there, so I won't go through all of it. We'll try and keep it relatively brief and leave it to you to ask any questions if you have them. But overall, from our operational budget perspective, our expenditure is sitting quite well at 46%. So obviously a little bit under for this time of year, but that's a good thing based on us hopefully getting some rain and having some capacity there to take up any slack if we get a bit more of a wet season growth spurt. From a capital works budget perspective, we're sitting at 29% of expenditure, so obviously it's lower than what it should be. Having said that, it's not truly reflective of some of the work that's been going on in the background. I have signed off a number of requisitions over the course of the last number of weeks for projects, and we are sort of pushing ahead there. So that figure will certainly be much more healthy come the next report, and we are working away diligently to deliver those projects, and certainly appreciate that the pressure's on to get that at 100%. So that is certainly our goal, and we'll continue to work towards it. And if there are any particular items that need to be highlighted, then we'll do so, and happily do that when we come to looking at each of the individual projects in Daniel's report later. Operationally, around the region, quite a lot going on. So again, each of the coordinators has provided a good level of detail there for everyone to look at. I'll just highlight a few of the most pertinent things. I guess the main thing from my perspective is the impact of water restrictions with our colleagues in infrastructure in that respect. And we've reduced our watering throughout our parks as a result. So that is going to have a noticeable impact from an appearance perspective in all of our towns around the region. So I do want to highlight that as something. It's not that we're obviously wanting to neglect our parks and sports grounds, but in the interests of overall community water security, we're doing that as a good citizen. I will note one item just in addition to that, and it's in relation to some of our recent top dressing and sports ground renovations. So the timing of those at the moment has required that we still give them quite a lot of water. So we are again working with infrastructure in relation to that to understand that for a period of time to ensure that work takes and is not wasted, we do need to put quite a volume of water onto those fields. So that's something that we just need to be mindful of.
Just through the chair, just on that point, I just noticed on Facebook last night a lot of comment about the water restrictions across our region. Now, I'm not sure how, I know it was on the media release went out yesterday, and some really nice people actually came in and said, like, it's only happened today. But a lot of the comment was, how are we getting that message out about the water restrictions? So I'm not sure whether there's any other follow-up, like letterbox drops across the region or whatever, but I'm just thinking about the parks and gardens. If we actually put out a little bit more information about the water restrictions, people may understand a lot better as to why even council has to stop watering the parks as much as what we would normally do. So I'm just thinking maybe it's a timely period now to do a little bit of a campaign before we get crucified about the neglect of our parks and gardens. Because when it's not neglect, it's just reality. And I think we need to get that message out as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll look to make sure we get some more detailed information about what's happening this afternoon at General Council briefing.
Thank you, thank you.
Through the chair, is now the time to speak to some of those issues, or should we hold them over until Jared's completed discussion, or do we speak of that now?
Sorry, I just thought I'd forget it, that's okay.
Just to clarify, is it around parks and watering, or is it around communications?
It's about parks and watering.
Jared, are you happy to take questions?
Absolutely.
Right.
I believe at this point in time, we are doing a moral obligation to look after and condense our water usage. Understand grassed areas can be reignited at a minimal cost or at a lesser cost, but there is trees dying within the streets already. There's browning of the trees, and there's very lack of water. Now that's going to be a significant replacement cost and a 6 to 8 year growth story. And I'm very aware of communities that we speak of vibrancy and livability. And I understand we have water allocations that are there, and we've got to do the moral thing and look at for using too much water. We pay for it, and it's there. So I don't know whether this needs a further report or discussion at a further council meeting, but I certainly would like to see our treescapes and our streetscapes fail for the next several years when we have the ability to keep our communities vibrant and livable. If you can pick up what I'm saying. I still believe we have some capacity to maintain the trees' livability. The grass, I think we can live with.
Through you, Madam Chair, I certainly agree with what you're saying, Councillor. So something that I need to make sure I'll communicate through the coordinators to be monitoring that very closely. Again, being quite selective in relation to where they are utilising the water that we do have at our disposal. But yes, absolutely spot on in terms of not wanting to compromise trees and their health and have that affect the amenity of all of our towns and facilities.
I mean, it's a good point, Al, and the thing is, I've just noticed it in my own garden, my own botanical gardens. A couple of my big trees, by the time you've got leaves browning, it's almost too late. And these are established trees, and I did notice in Springshaw today that one's died. And they're just really difficult conditions. So a tree might look all right, and all of a sudden it just turns. So
in Blackwater we have not the most appealing main street to drive through. Should our water restrictions restrict the growth of those trees that we have installed there, when we have potential reusable water at the golf club, for example, or that I know we looked at those sort of things some 12 months ago to put water lines up there. Whether we rush or bring a decision forward or some capital forward to handle that, or if you go down Rifle Range Road in Emerald, there's native trees that have taken some years to establish are dying off already. So I certainly wouldn't like to see it escalate at this point in time, given the direction that we've already given of a 30 to 50% reduction in water usage. Small shrubs in the middle of roundabouts, for example, they're a real easy and cheap replacement, or cheaper alternative, but trees, definitely not.
It's a very good point. Do you need anything more from us as councillors?
The message is pretty clear that we should have a priority schedule where our assets in terms of the trees are prioritised over the smaller. And we can ensure that that's reflected in the works programs.
And obviously important, I feel it's as well as a priority too.
If you read through the report, you'll notice that there's a lot of focus around irrigation. There's going to be many situations where our irrigation controlling techniques are probably not adequate to do some of this stuff that we're talking about. And there's going to be an overlap in what can and can't be done. I think if we take note of that and rectify that over the coming years as we roll out an irrigation smart cities, what do you call that, desktop bloody white man magic stuff, I think we can utilise this situation to benefit the outcomes overall. So I just picked up the irrigation observations, and obviously there's a fair bit going into it. Let's get it right.
Thank you. Moving on, so one additional item of note for Thierry is the appointment of our new supervisor there, Casey Gooden, who was a long-time labourer in Capella. So it's a lovely example of us growing our own in terms of progression of staff through the system. So he's having a good impact, and again also recognising Judy Irwin, who filled in for a time there as well, who did a good job. So for the eastern section, again, Councillor McIndoe pointed out very much an irrigation flavour within those reports. But again, another staff item, we've had a new trainee for 2019, so good to see we're continuing on with the development of trainees within the parks function. Other work there that's been happening in that location, again, I won't sort of go into too much detail, but taken, I guess, a look at some different ways of operating in terms of our mower utilisation, moving them around through tilt trays to look at gaining some efficiencies. So again, constantly monitoring what we're doing and looking at different and new ways to provide our services. You'll see a snapshot there of what our staff numbers are looking like currently. We have been down a few staff in Emerald in particular. It has been the case in other locations as well, but again, busy recruiting to ensure that we don't have those shortages for long. Moving to sport and recreation, you'll see some detail there in relation to game plan. So second round of engagement obviously completed last year. Quite a lot of work went into that. Most people will be quite aware of it. So we'll now move into the implementation of the tenure framework and continue along with what's been previously reported to council. Further on sport and recreation, we have a sports forum occurring in February. Details are again provided in the report. Great initiative there, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that one rolls out, given I wasn't here last year to be a part of that. And similarly again, and supporting game plan, the club coach initiative, which is an online resource and interactive hub, which is a fantastic initiative for all of our clubs and volunteers to access in the community. So things like a resource library, event calendar, interactive tools, those sorts of things. On the grants side of things, unfortunately not good news to report. The 2 grants that are listed there, we have been unsuccessful. So in the report you'll note that it says that we're unsuccessful for the Macca's Oval in Bluff, change rooms and amenities upgrade that we put in for there under the community infrastructure grant, and I didn't have an update to provide when I completed the report on the Get Playing Places and Spaces grant, but I've just found out that one we've been unsuccessful with as well for Mackendale Park, electrical upgrades and lighting. So we'll refocus how we approach those and consider again that impact on our capital delivery. Moving on to aquatic centres, again won't go through too much detail. We've had a few instances of issues at some of our facilities. Had a toddler burn his feet at the Emerald facility, which we're addressing through dealing with exposed metal surfaces. So that was an unfortunate incident. At Capella, we've had fortunately, it was a drive-by with a snake being discovered at the facility by one of our lessees doing gardening activities, and similarly had a toddler fall into the spa pool there, submerged for a very short time. He was fine, but again, just there's little issues and risks that we obviously deal with on a day-to-day basis, dealing with aquatic facilities and the environments that they provide. On a good note, at Blackwater, they hosted the Central Queensland Sprint Championships on January the 12th, and had a Central Queensland swim camp on the following day. So all reports were that was successful. So you'll see we've got aquatic centre attendance numbers there. As a very quick snapshot, the majority seem to have been an increase over what was the case the last year. So in comparison from October last year to October 2017, there are a few instances where they're down a little bit. Of great note, I think, is the significant increases in numbers for Capella, and I think that's a direct reflection of the lessees there doing a great job.
So which shows that through the chair raises a concern when Capella's more than double of, and if we attribute the 5 times escalation on last year's numbers to the lessees, and those lessees have expanded it from roughly just under 2,000 to in December 10,000 in total. If they've done such a terrific job in a short period of time, it raises the questions of, say, an Emerald pool of still only sitting at 3,000 for the same period, when I think we've opened both Blackwater and, as we heard in an earlier report, we've opened Blackwater and Emerald up for Splash Sunday, which would incorporate figures of around those 400 and 500 participants on those particular days. So where are we failing in our high density communities, not getting the people there?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a very good question, and one that I'm unable to answer at this point in time.
Maybe there's more home swimming pools in those communities than there is in Capella.
Certainly a complex issue, and there's no one easy answer to give to us.
Yeah,
and it is worth investigation. From my perspective, I think we need to look at the model that the Capella lessees are putting in place there, and how they've reactivated that facility, and whether there are lessons learned that can be transferred to our other lessees.
I think a fair bit of it is that the swimming pool is about all there is in Capella.
Mhm.
And it was really run down, so people stopped going to it. And now that it's lifted its game, they're going back there, and there's a lot of Tieri people going to that swimming pool as well. So like birthday parties, everything. I just think there's less to do in Capella. That's probably one of the reasons. And now that it's lifted its game, it's just attracting people back there. In Emerald, there's a lot of choice for them to do.
So, through the chair again, so the report coming to council in February, will that detail some of these findings or potential findings, or are we just looking at a higher level strategy in that report?
Through you, Madam Chair, so the report, which report are you referring to, Councillor? I can go the next iteration of this particular report with attendance figures.
There should be a report coming to council in February.
In relation to the aquatics facility strategy. Yeah, so
will that detail some of this and discussed at that maybe, or do we further discussions today?
Well, specifically the strategy won't retrospectively look at how and where certain facilities have done good. It will play a role in the research to develop it, but that won't be embedded in the strategy. It can be a part of the discussion, certainly, but I think we can certainly continue reporting on a more regular basis than just Jared's quarterly report on attendance, so that we can get that discussion and understand what's happening. But in terms of that strategy, that particular information, I would suggest is not going to be attached to the report or to the strategy, I should say.
through you, Madam Chair, as well, if I may add to that, part of what we're looking at within the strategy is how we correctly resource our aquatic facilities in terms of how we manage things from a council perspective. So part of it was suggesting an aquatic facilities supervisor or coordinator position, which can then delve into the detail of that. Unfortunately, at my level, I don't have the luxury of being able to spend a significant amount of time on looking at these issues and analysing them in the depth that's required. So through the strategy and what we're suggesting in that, I'd like to think that that offers a form of solution for us to consider. Moving to cemeteries, we've got a little bit more information in this report compared to the last, so fortunate to have some statistics there as far as interment numbers, which is a new addition. So that gives you a little bit of an indication of the activity, if you will, and I say that respectfully, in our cemeteries. Was a bit of an increase in burial activity, particularly in December there. Capital works noted they'll be dealt with later in Daniel's report for communities. On a strategic planning perspective, again, we mentioned the aquatic facility strategy coming in February. Similarly, we're looking to bring the draft cemetery strategy back to council in February as well. Parks People Play strategy is progressing, getting a consultant on board to complete that, and making mention of our park utilisation booking / personal trainer type policy, which is under investigation at the moment. So I'll endeavour to bring a report back to council on that particular item in March. We'll also add, which is not in there, bringing a report to council in relation to our asset maintenance register and how we do that in terms of management of that process, which was a question last year. So that council have more clarity around the process that we have in place to better maintain our assets and ensure that regular maintenance activities are occurring. I think that's about it. Any questions?
Jared, there's recently been consultation, you have your say around some of the capital works in the local playgrounds. One is Mitchell, a couple in Emerald. How are you progressing in using that feedback with your design?
Yes, certainly. So, Madam Chair, the feedback we received for the playground areas, so there was two here in Emerald. It was Vicky Peters Park and Lions Park. Vicky Peters Park, we received quite a lot of feedback on that one. A lot of community interest in relation to the replacement there. The main feedback we received was they wanted to pretty much retain what was there. It was almost a case of not wanting to let go of that existing playground. So we've taken that on board, and through the preferred option that we did have in place, we've asked that playground supplier to provide us with a redesign that pretty much replicates what's there currently. So that seems to have been successful as far as getting that back. So we'll now go back out to the community to give them a level of comfort that we have listened to them, give them the opportunity to provide any further comment back. But I'd like to think we're very close to having the right solution for that location and then be able to progress. For Lions Park, there wasn't as much interest. There was some good comment online, but nothing of any particular substance required us to make changes to what we have suggested for that location. And that one needs to be a bit of a staged approach as well in relation to further into the future, looking at renewal of shade structures and other infrastructure in the park, but also in consultation with the Lions Club that have interest in that park as well. So we're in a position where we've placed the order for that location. We hope to place the order for Vicky Peters Park in the near future following that consultation and get that underway. For Springshaw, again, really good feedback, quite a lot of interest from the community, and we didn't have to incorporate too much in the way of changes. There was a definite preference for one of the options that we provided, and we have placed the order for that option and hope to get that underway shortly. And again, I'll like to go into a bit more detail in relation to that particular program when we get to the capital works component of Daniel's report.
Great, thank you very much.
Through the chair. Sorry, the question in regards to page 65 of 115, community facilities, section A, operations. Point 3, town clock repairs organised project to commence early January. I'm not sure whether that work's been undertaken as yet, but I can't recall exactly. I've got a figure of $15,000 was spent on it, or budgeted for last year, in last year's financial budget, that is. So in the 17-18 budget. And it was discussed then that, you know, we are putting money in a clock that is dated that costs more to replace motors than it does to put up a new whitening magic, as I keep saying, that digitalisation type stuff that could be more usable, friendly, maybe some promotional stuff and, you know, other things that are relevant rather than the clock that we presently have. And should that money have been spent in that, or has it? I'm sure that money was spent. I did see the repairs undertaken at that time in that financial year. And here we are again, back there again. And I'm not sure what the repairs are. I haven't seen any report on what potentially the cost of this would be. But it's ringing alarm bells for me that we're just putting money in every year, and it continues to happen every year. Is there an alternative? Should this council look for an alternative to what we're doing? It is people's money. Any reply, or can you bring something back?
Through Madam Chair, I'd be inclined to want to bring something back, Councillor. I'm not familiar with the detail on the clock itself, and my coordinators are currently on sick leave at the moment, so I'm willing to take that one and bring up a further piece of information back.
Certainly. So,
yeah, through Madam Chair, I do know that the work has been ordered and scheduled, so I'm not sure the date of when it's going to be completed, so we are aware of that. But it is probably a larger discussion around the investment into that, the new design, the new clock, whatever the council wishes, and then obviously get some community feedback. I will note we're having some great uptake on the Have Your Say site, so it's making an opportunity to get the community involved in the design or a new.
and should that be the direction from the floor here? Maybe we should even, if the work hasn't been undertaken or the components not already purchased, is there potential to hold that up for that, or do we continue on with what we're doing? Knowing full well that we'll be back here very shortly to do it again.
We need to confirm exactly what part of the process was.
Okay.
I will go as far as saying I understand right now we are too far to come back from these reviews. But I stand to be corrected if I can get some other information.
Thank you. I'm really loving the reports, and I'd like to speak to the item above that now. The item above that clearly, so Emerald Council changes stormwater leaks. Temporary containment has occurred. I'd just like to know, since the rectifications and some $77,000 of insurance works commenced and completed late last year, or sorry, mid last year, we've had very little rain since then, and we've already found further leaks. Is that a component of the rectification works that were undertaken last year? And if so, is it under the builder's contribution back to some repair works?
Madam Chair, I'm not aware of the detail. Jared, are you able to provide an update on that?
Unfortunately, similar, I'm not aware of the detail myself, so I will need to come back to provide you further on that.
Thank you. Joe, just one more question. The Sapphire Play Group, where are we up to with that? Progressing with the play group or the interested people?
My understanding is that a draft agreement was provided to them to sign or provide further comment back on. I'm not aware of how far it's progressed from there.
Okay. Any further questions, councillors? Okay, thank you. The resolution's there in front of us to accept the report. May I please have a mover? Councillor McIntyre and a second, Councillor Flynn. Show of hands, please. All in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you for all the questions and Jared for your report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to departmental updates.
Jared, I want to say that, just for people, we'll go straight to capital works.
Okay.
Yes.
Just based on time and knowing that we have some customer community services that wants to get through as well. If Jared, do you want to highlight anything in particular from the capital works that you want to touch on?
Certainly, thank you. As far as our community recreation facilities capital works projects go, in the assets and facilities team ones, there has been a few there that have had to be pushed back as a result of builders needing to prioritise other works they've had. So unfortunately, some of the accuracy of what I have put in there is not as complete as what it should be. So as an example, for the Springshore office carpet replacement and refurbishment, that has been pushed back. I'm led to believe that it was supposed to be starting this week, but again, needing to get confirmation from builders based on other activities that they have. There are a few others that are in that boat, and I need to make sure that I provide a better level of detail back to the committee on, and ensure that the coordinator is working very closely with his officers and our builders and contractors to provide that level of detail. Other than that, we've already discussed the parks, so moving into the parks team projects, Vicky Peters, again looking at that new design. The project beneath it, the Centenary Park local park soft fall renewal. I want to bring to council's attention that I'm looking to reprioritise the expenditure of that, so it's still within that park, but not on the soft fall, from I guess an efficiency perspective. The shade structure over that playground is in more need of replacement and will provide a better outcome if we address that, and then look at doing the soft fall at the same time as we actually replace the playground in that area. Otherwise, there's more likelihood to damage the soft fall and have to, in effect, spend more money and do rework if we're not doing it in a correct sequence. So just looking to reprioritise that one and wanting to make that clear to council, and also not putting another shade sail up, but rather a solid shade structure to ensure again council gets good and long-term value for money. Lions Park has been discussed. Emerald Skate Park, we're progressing with that one, getting quotes at the moment, and when rollover returns at the end of the month, I'll see where we're up to in terms of progressing that with our new shade for that area and repairs to the existing skate bowl concrete, some of which is beginning to fail. Our Emerald Botanic Garden pathways, they're well underway. There's some good work happening there. The pathway replacement that's occurring on the river closest to Field 3 of Mackindale Park is near completion. I hope that'll be completed by the end of this week. And the section on the eastern side towards the lagoon area, culvert there, they're well advanced in that particular part of the project, and within the next 3 or 4 weeks we expect that to be completed if all things proceed as planned. Our playgrounds replacement on the west side is obviously going along nicely. We're continuing to progress with that project, looking at the addition of shade structures over those playground elements. We've had more budget left than we anticipated, which is great. And similarly, the car park and approach lane will also be done in the coming months as well. So we're well on track to be completing that project.
So that was sealed and
That's,
car park.
that's correct,
Oh,
yes.
excellent.
Blackwater Skate Park, we have engaged a consultant there to undertake community consultation and to develop the design for that potential future development. So that will begin in February. We've discussed Rich Park, so that one's been ordered, and I'd like to think within the next 3 to 4 months we'll have that in place. That's subject to development timeframes from the contractor. They're generally quite good in relation to how quickly they get those underway.
Jared, I'm just looking at the time here, so
Yep.
if you want to just maybe highlight some.
Speed up, absolutely.
All three of the Chair, just like, if there's anything.
Yeah, please ask any questions.
Any questions regarding Jared's section?
No, it's right. It's right.
Okay.
Agenda time factor.
You
I
hold
won't
it.
raise agenda time factor.
Okay.
But it is great, there's a lot of detail.
It is.
It's fantastic.
It's really good.
It's exactly what we need.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Chair, so I'll just continue past the capital projects, but again, in search of brevity, I won't touch on any of the 35 projects, but if you do have any questions, happy to answer. Anything at all?
No, it's just, I note the Fairburn Dam master plan. It's good to see that things are still moving forward. The meeting did occur in December.
We have met with Sunwater, and by way of update there, we need to do some renegotiations with not only Sunwater, but it's been identified that the sequential parcels of land that we're looking to acquire are not entirely Sunwater. Some of them are actually the Department of Natural Resources and Mines, so we have to include them in the next phase of negotiations. So we are progressing that nicely.
Right. Any questions regarding the remainder of the capital works program? No? Move on to the department update. It just, there's a resolution in front of us to receive the Communities Department update report. There's nothing we want to discuss in this section. Does anyone have any questions? I think one of mine is the flying foxes. There's a little bit of information in here regarding the Botanic Garden, so the Emerald Colony, but we did mention about it at Blackwater Colony at last meeting. Obviously, there's some Juria as well. So, do you have an update?
Through you, Madam Chair, there will be a full update coming with a report on all of that, and that will be discussed later this afternoon.
Okay. Any further questions regarding the departmental update? Okay, lovely. There's a resolution there in front of us. There's a new Councillor Clements and a seconder to receive the departmental update. Councillor Robinson, thank you very much. There's also the portal report as well, if anyone wishes. So moving on to Customer and Commercial Services Departmental update, I'll hand over to Michelle to speak to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and in the essence of time, I'll hand directly to Rebecca Boston, the Acting Manager of Customer Service, who perhaps potentially could touch on the high points of your report. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Through the chair, I will, time is of the essence, just cover over on the important parts. Just an extension to the Tidy Towns Awards this morning, just wanted to inform the group that there will be morning tea scheduled in each of those communities and an invite extended to the councillors and to the community representatives that contributed to that as well. So that was an avenue for them to get together.
Good to hear.
Moving on to the general business, I'll only highlight the joint effort between area support and rate staff. So part of our action learning from the last rate cycle was to be more proactive in the space of contacting our ratepayers, understanding what motivates them, what they don't understand and need more clarification on. So I won't go into detail, but that joint effort, you can see down the bottom of the first page of the corporate services, so we can see a timeline there of calls received. That drop off from 900 just about down to 260. I'm quite confident that the 282 calls that were made by rates and area support staff largely contributed to the reduction in calls, and in particular, not so much the calls, but the irate and difficult customer interactions that would have come along with that. As you can see, the feedback there from staff and the community or the ratepayers were saying they weren't aware, so it's that their credit would be automatically transferred. So through those conversations, it was a re-education as well of how the process will work, and I think it's been highly successful and something we'll continue to do as we move forward. The rates and water cycle. The CRM statistics I won't cover off, there's nothing there in particular to note. After hours is nothing there in particular highlight. There are 2 months worth of statistics to go through, and that was because we obviously didn't have a meeting in December, so I collated 2 months and presented it in this one report. So, the Christmas closure and after hours, we didn't have any concerns or major issues through the Christmas closure with our script that we updated that related to obviously the provision of essential services. So that was a great effort from both internal staff in supporting that scripting and the after hours team. There was no major issues over the Christmas break. And that's it from me, unless there are any questions.
No. Thank you.
Not a question, but thank you to the desk ladies down there. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Dan, Tony, Paige, they've moved on, but thank you to those ladies and thank you for the proactive work that you've done. I think it's certainly shown itself, so thank you.
And very quickly, I'll just take the opportunity to introduce you all our new supervisor, who started on Monday, and that's Courtney Sescarago. Welcome to Courtney, and I'll bring the team back when we've got a little bit more time and they're a little bit more settled into their roles, just to introduce you. They have met you all in passing as well, which has been fantastic. So, thank you all.
Thank you. Michelle, anything further?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Lovely. Well, there's the resolution in front of us. Please have a thank you, Councillor McIndoe, as the mover, and Councillor Godwin-Smith, secretary, to receive their report. Thank you, Secretary. You want to move into closed session. Moving forward very quickly, Councillor McIndoe moved that we move into closed second, and Councillor Godwin-Smith second.
You didn't get a show of hands on that.
Oh, sorry, show of hands.
I did show that.
I did show.
We're
All in favour, thank you. Thank you for picking that. Thank you very much. I'd ask that all, only the people that are required for the closed session remain in the room now. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, youth development team, for your attendance. Thank you.
You can.
Moving through. Yes. So we're all good to go with this closed meeting?
And did we actually get the mover and seconder in closed session?
No.
You got the-
We did, we got the mover and seconder.
We did
We did. for moving to closed sessions, and a show of hands, please. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Now we'll move into closed sessions. Thank you. Councillors, the resolution's there in front of us to receive the report that we received in closed session. May I please have a mover? Thank you. Councillor McLean, second. Councillor Seifer, all in favour? Thank you. Thank you, and we'll close the meeting. And oh, sorry, general business.
Oh, we need to go.
We don't have the time. Can you hold it over to the general meeting, Councillor McIntosh?
Yes.
Councillor Seifer, thank you very much. So we'll close the meeting at 12:07. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Yeah.
Right, well, good afternoon, everyone, and apologies for a little bit of a late start to our live stream. It's our community's meeting has just rolled on a little bit this morning, but fortunately we have a pretty tidy leadership and governance agenda here for you this morning, and this afternoon rather, and we should be able to get through that reasonably quickly. Now, our committee, leadership and governance, will acknowledge this in a minute, but our members are here: Councillor Nixon, Councillor Britton, Councillor Bell, Councillor Seifer, and myself. Councillor Hayes acting as chair in Councillor Walsh's absence. So I will get to that. An apology, Councillor Roll had actually asked for a leave of absence, which was granted. So can someone move Councillor